Hello, Pulp Pounds. So, bonus video. Well, it's not a bonus video because I didn't do one last week. But this isn't going to replace Wednesday's video. Something totally different for Wednesday. I just wanted to put this out there and show you guys some cool stuff. A very, very wonderful and valued friend of mine is the writer and anthologist Mark Morris. Mark is a staggering short story writer. If you do get a chance to get this hefty tome from PS Publishing, I would heartily recommend it. He's editing a series of anthologies for Flame Tree, After Sundown, Beyond the Veil. The new one is in production. They're wonderful and well worth checking out. And the literary, I haven't grabbed them to hand, but they live permanently on my bookcase. If you fancy something a bit chunkier to get your teeth into, there's the Wolves of London, the Obsidian Heart series. They are brilliant, gripping. It's not necessarily traditional horror. It's like horror with kind of a modern fantasy element, but not like Conan the Barbarian. More like a Neil Gaiman type fantasy thing. These are awesome, absolutely brilliant. I heartily recommend these. Rip-roaring read. So the lovely Mark came round and said, as we do just about every week, to drink tea and talk about books and watch TV shows and films of a morally dubious nature. He said he's seen my video where I'm unboxing the stuff that Dave Brzezinski sent me. And he said, I saw your enthusiasm and excitement for some of the small press stuff, and I've dug some out. Mark has been involved in small presses for a long time, and he kept a lot of stuff that he doesn't necessarily read a lot, but it's too good to just get rid of. So he was like, do you want to find a home for it? And I started looking through and I was like, oh my word. Like, it's weird finding a new thing that you're passionate about that kind of passed you by a little bit at the time. But I love the small press fiction magazines and stuff like that. And I am starting to hunt it down and collect it, like, in earnest. But thanks to Dave and Mark, I've now got like quite a hefty collection to start with. I've hit the ground running through some lovely friends' genuine generosity and kindness, and I really appreciate it. So if you want to have a little browse through, I'm going to shift the camera around, we'll cut away, we'll have a little look. I've actually got a new desk. I've got new reading glasses. I've got a new desk in my living room. So I'm going to turn things around and I'll do it on my desk. Oh, I feel so posh.
Okay, so I've got turned round. And first up is this BFS Newsletter. There's a few BFS newsletters. I thought that was Le Yeux Sans Visage, but it's not. It's from an episode of Chiller from the ITV series of the 90s. I enjoyed that. But these are really interesting. They've got just reviews, obituaries, just interesting bits and bobs about kind of genre stuff in the 90s. And I thoroughly enjoy, like, sitting with a cup of tea and reading through these. Absolutely thoroughly. What have we got next? A copy of Kimota, the Preston science fiction group magazine of science fiction, horror, comics and fantasy. You see, back then I'd have been involved in these groups. I used to go to, like, some really... Conventions were very different in the 90s. I used to enjoy going to ones in Leeds. But this is very cool. Story by Steve Laws. Article about John Farris by Steve Gallagher. These are absolutely great. A story by Conrad Williams. So some very exciting reads to go there. Oh, this is wonderful, and I've read this one. So this is by Stephen Jones, with a gorgeous Les Edwards Lovecrafty cover. Thank you, Mr. Edwards. And it's just about like Galant's publishing, getting the rights to publish Lovecraft stuff, all the ups and downs that they went through, and then it goes on to like Panther and Grafton and stuff. It's just absolutely fascinating. It really is. For a horror geek like me, it's brilliant, genuinely. We've got another BFS Newsletter. This is 1990, and they just give a really nice snapshot of what's come out, what's popular, what's not popular, what's just interesting at the time. Really cool. I genuinely love like sitting with a brew and going through those. Another BFS Newsletter, that's 1998. That's a lovely cover. Oh, Third Alternative magazine, that was good. A much smaller newsletter without a cover or anything. Nightmares and Dreamscapes coming out that year. But again, really interesting. Oh, Robert Holdstock. Really interesting just to flick through and have a little nosy at. See what was going on back then. This is interesting. This is a catalogue, 1990 to 1991. Just kind of like what they published and stuff. Now, I've decided to start collecting small press stuff, thanks to Dave and Mark. These kind of just like lost little small press gorgeous things. They're quite hard to find, but they are out there, and they're not always that expensive for a lot of them. So having like catalogues gives me authors and titles to hunt for, because otherwise it's very, very difficult. Oh, this is lovely. 2005-2006 Arkham House catalogue. I love Arkham House, and I would love a huge collection of them, but they're quite difficult to afford, especially in this country. So again, like a nice bit of reference for going through. What's this one? Oh yeah, Fusing Horizons, 2003. Now I have to confess, this isn't my favourite cover. It looks like it's been done in what was the Windows desktop publishing software thing. Kind of looks like that. Someone's just got that and just kind of gone, let's just do one. But it's got the Invocation by Ramsey Campbell. It's got some brilliant stories by Joel Lane. Who else do I want? Charlie Williams, John Probert. He's a splendid chap. The lovely and placidly violent Gary McMahon. Jules Denby. She used to do stuff with New Model Army, didn't she? So yeah, that's. These are just so nice because I just sit with a cup of tea and grab one off the shelf and just sit and go through them. And that's a lovely afternoon. A couple more BFS newsletters, which kind of I'm not going to like flick through and show you all the text inside. They're just very interesting. And I thoroughly enjoy flicking through those. Absolutely great. Interzone's won a Hugo Award. Legend Press. And another one there. When's that from? May, June 94. So that I just think these are really enjoyable just to sit down and flick through. Right, on with some more small press now. What we got? Swains Journal issue 1. Ooh, look, an interview with Shawnee Hudson. I could have done with that before me Sean Hudson retrospective, but I will be doing another Sean Hudson at some point soon when I can bring myself to sit and plough through some more of his novels. I need to be in the right kind of headspace to read his stuff. So Steve Harris, Sean Hudson interview, John Pritchard, and a story by the lovely Kev Mullins. We've had some fun times out, me and Kev. He's a genuinely lovely chap. And then a couple of copies of Invasion of the Sad Man Eating Mushrooms, issue 1. But Mark dug this one out for me because there's a chat with the lovely, wonderful, and one of my all-time favourite authors in the world, Mr. Guy N. Smith, which I have read, and it's very interesting. These are really nicely designed, look. Kind of photocopied pictures and stuff. Aren't they great? That's Udo Kier in Blood for Dracula. That's, I think, controversial, but I think that's my favourite Dracula film. I adore Christopher Lee. I adore Bela Lugosi, but yeah, Blood for Dracula. There's boobs in it, yeah, but it's not for the boobs. It's for the other things. Honest gov. I'll just stop talking now about that film. Another issue of Invasion of the Sad Man Eating Mushrooms. An interview with Lionel Fanthorpe. A look at the guinea pig films. They are quite disturbing. I remember getting those before they were released in this country. I got some kind of bootleg years ago. Decades ago now. And thankfully they were rips of the DVD or Laserdisc or something, and they had the making of on, and I needed to watch the making of the first two just to make sure I hadn't just witnessed an actual crime. They're so disturbing. And then some of them are absolutely hilarious. Anyway, on with the small press. Miscellany Macabre. This is a collection of stories by Ken Cowley. And this looks really good. Very, very excited to read this one. I'm kind of working my way through certain just like to be read pile. I've kind of been quite strict with reading things in order that they've arrived in my house because that feels only fair to the books. But this may just sneak in a little early, a little before its turn. It might jump the queue. A copy of Dark Horizons from 1986. Lovely. That's gorgeous, isn't it? So what's in this? Some names I don't know. There's a Tom Ligotti story. That's awesome. Mike Chandler story. Brilliant. Some very interesting. The cover's by Alan Kozowski, which I think that's gorgeous. I love that kind of unpleasant-looking dragon. That's brilliant. Issue 5 of Dark Dreams, which is another typically wondrous Dark Dreams type cover. What's in this one? Derek Stamford. Simon Clarke. Who else we got? Verse by Dave Reeder. That's quite cool. Lovely. Again, just grab a cup of tea, and it's not like you're kind of getting stuck into a large novel. So, Colonel Halifax's ghost story. This is just one little story, published as a chapbook. I love things like this. Looks like it's from 95 by S. Baring Gould. Didn't he write hymns? I think. Didn't he write Onward Christian Soldiers? Onward Christian Soldiers, yes. Introduction by the lovely Hugh Lamb. So that's just a single ghost story, and I think things like that, they're just charming. Utterly charming. A copy of Winter Chills number 3. When's this from? That's about FantasyCon, 1989. Brian Lumley would be the master of ceremonies there. £25 a ticket. No, the hotel's £25 a night. Right. What have we got here? Stephen Player. House by Steve Rosnick Tem. Brilliant. William Thomas Webb. Oh, and another by Joel Lane. That's lovely. Very pleased with that. Looking forward to just ploughing through these. Chills number 9, published by the BFS. What's in this one? Chris Morgan, Ben Leach, D.F. Lewis, Andrew Pye. Cool. So, again, just lovely things. Chills number 7. Let's have a little peep inside this one. Oh, The Departed by Clive Barker appearing in fanzine form. That's pretty awesome. Nick Royal, brilliant. Yes. Absolutely brilliant. I just love the kind of imagination, people just doing this, and the small press stuff. It's almost like, it feels a bit like underground comics, the Robert Crumb type stuff of the 60s and 70s and Gilbert Shelton. I love all that kind of stuff. Just people just getting out there and having a go. It's like the punk ethic. Anyway, here's a lovely little chapbook of The Birthday. No, not The Birthday. Sorry, Mark. Just Birthday. Covered by Jim Pitts, who did a lot of those, who's a chap after my own dotwork heart, because that's really cool. So, yeah, looking forward to reading that one. Mark is a great writer. This one's gorgeous. Look at that. So this is 3 stories by G.G. Pendarves, who, no relation to G.G. Allen. So there's The Devil's Graveyard, The Eighth Green Man, and The Whistling Corpse. And as you can see, they were all published in fiction magazines and stuff in the 20s and 30s, which is exactly my cup of tea. I love stuff like that. It just makes me happy. And some gorgeous illustrations. Oh, that one looks good, doesn't it? So the BFS published a Masters of Fantasy 3 all about M.R. James. Ooh, now I bet that is one to get. As if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared. Mr. James, as my son calls him. Yeah. Articles and stories and all sorts of lovely things. Just a little tribute issue to the wonderful M.R. James, who managed to conjure up a sense of, for me, a sense of genuine unpleasantness and strangeness and malice and malevolence, like the malevolent dead. Oh, love M.R. James. But as spring's coming, I'll be stopping reading as quite as many ghost stories and hitting up the trashy, violent sleaze of warm weather. And last one is a really lovely, it's called Long Memories, Recollections of Frank Belknap Long by Peter Cannon, with an afterword by the lovely and talented Ramsey Campbell. And it is Recollections of Frank Belknap Long. Now, I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of Frank Belknap Long's sci-fi, but I'm not a huge fan of that kind of deep 40s, 50s, 60s sci-fi. It doesn't float my boat. However, Frank Belknap Long's early stuff is some of my favourite horror fiction. It's amazing, back when he was really influenced by Lovecraft and a really good friend of Lovecraft. So this is going to be a really interesting read for me. I'm really looking forward to cracking on with that. And that's it. That's it. That's a hell of a pile. Look at those. That's a heck of a pile of small press, gorgeous loveliness, lost little chapbooks and fiction. So thank you, Mark. They have found a place of honour in my burgeoning small press collection.
So, yeah, massive thank you to Mark for those I just adore them. Absolutely, it's like a little snapshot of the history of the genre, an important moment in the history of horror and weird fiction, and it's just like a little time capsule back to those days. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, there'll be. I'm uploading this on Monday. There'll be another video on Wednesday. This isn't this week's video. This doesn't replace this week's video. This is like last week's video that I just didn't get around to doing. So in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, you lovely pulp hounds, stay safe, and thank you so much for joining me.